Alright, YouTube, considering how much the problem for the Herta E2 resonated with the community, I want to talk about it more because there's more that I have been researching about based on the feedback I got from you. Let's start talking about it. Let's start talking about the new meta, the changes that are about to come in 3.0, how they're gonna change our way to play the game, and basically what's best for us to do, or which are the options we can choose. The Herta is the first character that we are gonna have very soon, and you know how I feel about it. I love the character, I think E0 Herta is very strong, I think the community agrees with that, and she can help a lot erudition teams that work inside a pure fiction, because she provides 80% crit damage given that you have another erudition character. She's also a sub DPS supporty character, which is great because not many characters that deal this amount of damage can also support the team. Keep in mind that the 80% crit damage bonus doesn't go only on the other erudition unit, that's just a condition of triggering it, but it goes on all the units. This includes buffers like Sunday that benefit from crit damage, or even Sparkle that nobody uses anymore it seems. But yeah, even Sparkle actually has synergies. That's something you need to keep in mind. She's an incredible buffer, alongside being a completely busted DPS. She works very well with her Puppet, which is very fun. She works well with Himeko, so she doesn't need a team that you need to spend a lot of money on. Himeko you can find from losing the 50-50, or just picking her on the selector banner, or you can use Herta. Herta of course is completely free to play, full Eidolons. What else? We have the problem of E1, E2 and S1. The game is gonna drop us a lot of new characters, and the question is, having multiple copies of the character will help me going into the new meta or not, right? That's the problem. We have the new summon meta and something else we are about to look into. I think some E2 are incredibly good to the point that they make the character viable for a long time, but at launch they make the character incredibly busted. So if you are ready with having the good relics and the material you need to level up the traces, you're going to have for quite a while a character that will be completely busted. But we're talking about 3 copies of the character. When it comes to Herta, for instance, if you want to chew it, we're talking about 3 copies of the same character, and you can't use them any other way. You can't really move them around, and like with a Lightcon, the Lightcon you can trade between characters. There's to consider though that Herta is also a buffer for erudition unit and an emanator, which means she's gonna be relevant for an archetype. I think characters that carry an archetype are more likely to be good in the future. There's something else to say, and I want to express it now. There are 2 ways of playing Star Rail, right? You can either collect all the character, ignore the meta. You can even ignore the endgame modes if you want, because they are just giving you a few gems. You can play the easier stages with any team, and then just enjoy having a lot of characters. You don't pull for Lightcons or Eidolons either, and you have many animations ready to go. What's the problem with that? You need to build the characters regardless if you want to play them in a meaningful way, let's say. I don't think the story is much demanding, but you still need to build them a little bit. You can trade relics, especially generic relics, between characters, but you still need to level them up and level their traces. There's some investment you still need to do with every character, and in that case they won't deal a lot of damage. They will be okay, right? They will be okay, and you will be able to create many teams in the end. This is my approach for Zenless Zone Zero, I think. Most of the times I prefer having the character I want and the gameplay I want over the damage, because it's an action game. When it comes to Star Rail specifically, it's an RPG and I want to see the big numbers. I want to see the teams work from a damaging perspective too, alongside the animations. Then of course I can't really have all the characters here too, no, it's a choice for me too, even if I spend in the game as a content creator. It's not like the 2 styles can live together. Let's see the community reaction that I have based on the video that we were talking about. Alright, so let's go through the comments. This new one says, whatever future does Honkai Sorale, I'm sorry but I'm not part of it anymore. Until they fix their HP inflation and the ridiculous power creep of their support, I'm not coming back. Which I do understand. I understand the negativity too. I understand where this is coming from, considering that inflation is a thing, and not caring about the endgame is not something that comes natural. If you still enjoy playing the story, I think the content is very good, but I completely understand the frustration that comes from feeling that the endgame is running away. Is running away from you, right? There's much more. We are gonna see the things I have responded. It's an issue. I don't really see the issue. The comment basically says, if the character is 3 copies, it's normal for it to be strong. I completely agree, given that the metagame is not gonna shift. If the metagame is still there and the opponents doesn't become stronger, an issue that is much stronger is fine because you are investing a lot of resources in it. The problem is that the metagame is becoming harder to complete, and in general, when it comes to optimization, if you think that a character with 3 copies will completely make your builds, your team builds, irrelevant, it's a little bit frustrating. Then we have Utsubio that says, to be fair, does it even matter that E2 is broken? I think this is the same point of view. It says, the problem is on both sides. If I feel forced to spend 200 extra pools to have the power, or I want to make my power card broken and get barely any improvements, that would be a problem at the same time. If you make Eidolons not strong, it's a problem, and I agree. If you don't make Eidolons strong, you are using multiple copies of a character and pulling for multiple copies for no reason. But the problem with that is that it's not for whales anymore. It's not for just players that want to spend for the sake of saying, okay, I have a little bit more damage. Let's say 20% per Eidolon, and if you have 6 copies, you end up having basically a character with about double the damage. We are talking about double the damage on 3 copies of the character, which is different from 6 copies, from my point of view, when it comes to accessibility. I feel like E2 and E1 and E2 are still accessible, so they make me think. The user also says, I think everyone would agree that it would be better without power creep, but there's no way around it, which I understand. Maybe I'm out of touch, because I've been very picky when it comes to characters, so it's a vertical player. They prefer having a strong team, and they don't mind giving up on the other characters that are just maybe flavor. Maybe people like them, but they are just flavor. So yeah, it's hard for people like me. I like collecting characters, but at the same time I like having strong teams. So yeah, for me is a problem. But yeah, Utsubio is very considerate. They're thinking, what if I'm not feeling the problem as much? And it's a possibility, but at the same time, I think it's what the game wants you to do. It wants you to pick characters to create teams that are strong, and it's pushing you to have multiple copies as well. Just look at their calculation of Firefly damage, and you will see. So this is about Pride One. Yeah, Pride One can be not exact on the information, but the amount of damage that E2 brings is still relevant enough. Even if you don't have an exact calculation, it's still a lot, right? Let me zoom a little bit. Herta E2 is just insane. Or you'll probably see the success of E2 Danhanging Beaver Lune and E2 Hacker, and decide to bump E0 to E2 increased. Just look at E2 Firefly and E2 Face Out. That's better than previous E2. Yeah, this is the point. This is my point. Which is fine, because that makes the unit somewhat future-proof. But does it make it future-proof? That's the question. If all the units become so strong with E2, does it make it future-proof? The power creep problem? Yeah, so basically they are saying, for coding is saying the problem is the horizontal power creep. If the horizontal power creep, which is, I have a new unit and that unit is much stronger, E2 gets power crept, and that's a problem. It's vertical against horizontal power creep, right? If you have a very strong unit vertically, it's fine, because you are basically cheating having multiple copies. Slayer says, I've heard a certain lady with pointy ears will have the most busted E6 and the second Eidolon. Who knows? And the Herta E2 is like Firefly E2, but attached to a bigger nuke with no real restriction because she's a crit scaling character. Yeah, she belongs to an archetype that is more generic. Honestly though, despite having multiple E0 plus characters, I recommend to roll for the every character if possible, prioritizing strong units if you're concerned with endgame units, otherwise just collect. Eidolons are nasty money sinks. Oh, why don't I definitely heart this? Yeah, Eidolons are nasty money sinks. And I want to talk about it because what's the problem with Eidolons? They don't give you anything else than numbers, right? They don't give you a new character. That's the problem. Karukumi says, always an interesting topic. I feel my perspective it is a bit different because I don't care about the Eidolons. The game is either clearable at E0 S0. That's true. Clearable also is something you need to think about. You can clear the story without even thinking about it, and you can even clear the endgame content with some effort on builds. So that's true. You can say that E2 Herta will last longer, true, but it only matters if you're talking about the character you love and wish to use longer. So if you want to drop it, why having E2? Yeah, that's true. But the point is, I love Herta as a character. Because I like the character, I like the design, I like that she's a witch. I am a fan of magical girls. I care about the Herta, that's the problem. But yeah, the comment is correct. You can see there are a lot of perspective on this problem, but they all converge in the fact that it's not necessarily a problem, it's a problem for the person, not really for the game, I think. As an Acro main, she carried by her support. Yeah, that's something you need to consider. If there's a character that synergizes with others, for instance, Herta synergizes with other erudition units, so if they are going to release more erudition units, she will be better, right? We don't have many erudition strong units at the moment. That's our point. So future proof is also about it, and Acheron is about nihility, the Herta is about erudition, and we are inside the remembrance. So yeah, maybe later. More people need to talk about this. I only see you talk about it as a problem. Yeah, I think it's a very relevant thing because it changes how we play the game. It changes how we want to play Sarel, right? What E2 is so OP, yeah. I think it is. To be honest, as long as I don't use Eidolons as balancing for any HP, I'm actually completely okay. Yeah, that's the problem. Are they gonna use them to balance enemy HP? And I think the enemy HP will go up. As you can see, there are already users that are annoyed by the fact that it's going up. That's everything I want to comment about the community. It's a very good insight though, because we are talking about characters that become more and more strong, both horizontally and vertically. Horizontally means the more characters come out, the stronger they are, and vertically means also the Eidolons are going to be stronger. Okay, so let's make a graph, just for fun. Let's say this is E6 and this is the last character coming. If this is the damage of E6 still, and then we have E6, the Herta that is here, and this is like this, okay? This, let's say, and then we can say, I don't know, the character here, oh no, the second character E6 was, and they go up based on E6, but also based on the character we have, because E0 seller maybe is like a very small point here, right? A very, very small point, not too small, let's say like this, okay? And then we have the second character, E0 is this, okay? Maybe this. And then we have the last character that E0 is like this, okay? Yeah, you can see the problem that an E6 character will be completely imbalanced and immediately complete the content. And if they balance the content somewhere around, I would say here in the center or here even, we are still in trouble because the Eidolons are gonna carry the content in a bad direction. Also, if E2, which will be around here, is much more relevant now, let's say double the amount, so like this, not so much, double the amount like this, and here it was like very comparable, yeah, let's say this, if like here was this and here is this, you can still see the problem, right, even at E2. So if the power creep goes very strong on E2 instead of E6, one can even say, okay, you know what, I will ignore everything that is over 2 copies of the character, and this is gonna be irrelevant, alright? But the problem is, this is still so much a power creep compared to any other unit, and you need to put 3 units, that's for sure, but it's so uncomparable that this will just go off the meta, and yeah, there's no way they will still leave this relevant. And we're talking about Stele for now, but maybe more characters are going to be off meta just because E2 characters are here and accessible for players can immediately complete the endgame. And if the endgame becomes irrelevant, nobody will be feeling like the need of pulling a new character from the gameplay perspective. So it's still a problem. I think the fact that E2 characters are much stronger than E0, 200%, is a problem more than E6 being like 3 times. That's not really a problem because it's 6 copies. But if 3 copies make the character broken, you can actually pull for 3 copies, even free to play. This means less characters are better on your account, and potentially the endgame will become harder just because reachable characters are stronger from here. Alright, and that said, we can talk about the new meta. There's a mystery archetype here I want to talk about. But first, let's talk about where the Herta is going to position. And it's on an old archetype, which is the Area of Effect archetype. She creates a new system where she can buff all the erudition units. She's in both categories, DPS and buffer, and she makes the Area of Effect archetype change name maybe into the erudition archetype that goes AoE, because now having 2 erudition characters is relevant inside the team. Then the summon archetype is led by Sunday for sure, and the remembrance main character that we haven't talked about, a free-to-play 5-star that is actually a 5-star, genuine, again playable, not really meta. Let's talk about the mystery archetype. So what's the HP archetype? Actually, I should call it HP summon hybrid. There's this set, 2 pieces, that increases the wearer's max HP by 12%, and if it's 5000 or higher, increase the wearer's and the memo sprite crit damage by 25%. This set is about some character that will have these kind of situations. It's a card that wants max HP, is a DPS because we are talking about crit damage, and at the same time has a summon. We only have Blade here, and funny enough, we have Arlan, but this is definitely not something that talks about Blade and Arlan. It's a new archetype with unknown actors. We can speculate what character will be based on Bone Collection. Is about necromancy, right? And we know that based on Hoyoverse trailers, we know that Castoris is gonna summon an undead dragon. It makes me think, what if it's Castoris, right? And if Castoris is the thing, we are talking about a new situation where having high HP is relevant, right? High HP means that the character will probably factor in HP as a damage element like Blade. Blade has very low multipliers and is completely out of the meta, but what happens if we have a character that scales on summon supports, like Remembrance main character and Sunday, but also on max HP? Characters usually scale on attack percent, crit rate, and crit damage. So what happens if a character scales on HP percent instead of attack percent? So first of all, HP percent is easier to achieve. Having higher HP number is easier to having a high attack. You can see Huoho can have 7000 HP very easy, much more if you want. To 10k is not hard. If you get to 10k HP, the damage will scale much more than 10k attack, which is literally impossible, right? So if the modifiers are lower, this won't be very relevant. But if the modifier are higher enough, unlike Blade, this archetype will be something very relevant. That scales in 2 directions. One is the summons and one is the HP. And the point is, are we ready for this? Which are the characters that can help us doing that? We have healers already that has high HP, like for instance HP scaling here like Hoho. Not really eventually because he doesn't scale on HP. I think the other one is, I don't know, Bailu. Other healers that scale on HP can be relevant. I will actually move Bailu there, just for fun, because I think she's there. Or healers that can summon, like Lingsha, also relevant. A little bit, but I think it's more about healers that have HP. They are not the DPS, but if the mechanics is about HP, maybe everything will be like comparable. And also, all the supports are going to revolve either on summons like Sunday or HP like future ones. Is the Herta gonna interact with this? And the point is, the Herta is not, because she's a traditional crit scaling character and also synergizes with erudition unit, not remembrance unit. So there's nothing to do between the Herta and any HP scaling hybrid with summon meta. Funny enough, Herta seems already out of meta when it comes to what could happen in the future based on suggestions, right? What if this is about Castoris and Castoris is an HP scaler like Blade, or if we have other characters that do that. Maybe you already know because you look at leaks that some characters are going to scale on HP. And what do we do if this happens? We can go Remembrance and Sunday if you already have them. They already have them both, because Remembrance is for free, of course. But what if Tribby is gonna change everything? I'm not sure. I don't think so. But it's a possibility. Can we be ready for this archetype while investing vertically for characters like the Herta? And my answer is potentially. It really depends on how much we are saving already. But honestly, the Herta closes an archetype where every erudition unit will benefit in the future from her because of the 8% crit damage buff. So I think the Herta is still a solid investment to close an archetype if we are already done with it. We're talking about erudition specific units like the other Herta and the future 5 stars we don't have still. As you can see, we don't really have many erudition 5 stars that are really relevant. We have Argenti, we have Himeko, which is there from the start of the game. We have Jade, which is very strong. But in general, if a new erudition character comes out for a multiple target scenario, I think Herta will be relevant. But for different kind of scenarios, I expect HP Summon Hybrid to be more relevant. So we should save some to manage the new character. I think Aglea is a potential skip. If you like the animations and damage, definitely go for Aglea. I think the aesthetics of Aglea is good in general. But if you were looking for the future meta, I think the best strategy is going for 1 copy of Herta, or 3 if you can afford it, but honestly 3 is a lot. 1 copy of Herta without the Lycon, and then you can go for future characters that are going to support this archetype. 3B if it does support the archetype, we don't know still. And other characters, we know we have the Spartan guy, Midday, and we know that we have Castoris coming up. Maybe they will be around this. I expect Castoris to be around this based on these bone collections. So if Castoris does that, then of course I think Castoris is a must pull, because she would be the main DPS for a new archetype. And keep in mind, being updated with archetypes that come in the game is good, because the new archetypes will be stronger than the old ones. So that's everything I want to talk about when it comes to account build for now. Everything else will be in the article, so everything I talked about in a very synthetic way. And my possible plans for free-to-play to high spenders will be on the website, journal.com. You will see the article pop up. Check it out because it will include the video and of course other information about the important things you can choose. This is Nero Atlas with the situation in Honkai Star Realm 3.0 and forward. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any consideration about it, and I will include it in future videos, reviewing the comments and in the article as well. If you enjoy, like me, trying to solve games, I think I will be with you, and I love discussing about it. So yeah, have fun. This is Nero Atlas, logging in.